And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
What's going on, RBLR Bucs? Your sunshine during these April showers when it comes to all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers related. Forget those gloomy skies outside because we're here for the bright future of our Bucs, especially with that NFL draft around the corner. Speaking of that big day, with the draft kicking off on April 24th, less than a month away. Can't believe it. And I'll tell you this, we're here to wade you through the puddles of speculation and, bring you the fresh draft buzz and the player updates and everything else going on in between. Now, the RBLR crew keeps their eyes on all Tampa Bay sports. So this podcast is your dedicated umbrella for all things Buccaneers. But make sure to give some love to our other teams out there. But I haven't introduced myself as I usually do. I am your co-host, Musab, and just like those spring flowers pushing through the rain, we got some spicy draft content for you tonight. And, this show is nothing without my iconic co-host. And it's a little bit special today, and I'll tell you why. Because first and foremost, I want to introduce the man with the plan, Mr. Zach Blaine. Zach, I got a question for you. I don't know if, it's, we're guys and, we don't plan out things too far ahead of time. So I do want to ask you, do you have a draft day kind of outfit, cooked up, or you just going to kind of just throw on whatever the hell you see in your closet on April 24th?
Probably some sweatpants and a t-shirt.
Okay.
I don't do anything special on draft days anymore. It just leads to disappointment.
Oh, yeah. What was the last time you wore the jersey or your Bucs Day draft outfit? And
wear my Mayfield jersey on game day, brother. I can't. That's like a little thing. Well, this year it's going to be Bucky, but it's going to be Mayfield or Bucky. Maybe I'll wear the Mayfield jersey for the draft. Right
on. Well, now the final puzzle piece of this iconic trio. Our beloved Mr. Carter Brantley is not here tonight, but who is Mr. Tyler Vassallo, and Tyler is also our writer for our RBLR Sports, or specifically with our RBLR Bucs team. So as much as it's nice to listen to us and hear us through your headphones or wherever you're listening to this, sometimes it's nice to cozy up with a good article like Tyler's and get caught up on all things Buccaneers related. But same question for you, Tyler. You got a little Bucs outfit, cooked up for draft day, or you also?
I got a lot of jerseys at this point, but I don't think I'm going to even opt for one of those this year. I got some pretty funny Bucs shirts. I have one with Bruce Arians and in the Bucko Bruce logo, the orange creamsicle logo.
Oh, okay.
Bucko Bruce Arians shirt. I might opt for that this year. But if not, it'll probably be either the Mayfield Cleveland Browns jersey that I own or the Tom Brady pewter.
Ooh,
so those are the three options there.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wear my Devin White Super Bowl edition jersey because I've only worn it twice since I bought it, just because I just have never had the urge, and I think it's time to finally start using it. It's like buying a brand new Ferrari that got recalled, and well, screw it, I still got the Ferrari. I got to drive it a little bit, I guess.
With a Ferrari body kit.
What do you say?
I said, turns out it was just a Honda with a Ferrari body kit.
Yeah, it turns out this Ferrari came from Temu.
Yeah.
So, but listeners, I'll tell you this. Look, whether it's your first time or this is your 100th time, we really do appreciate you giving us a listen. And, show us some love up there right here. We got our social media outlets right here. We are on Blue Sky, Twitter, or as they call it, X, Facebook, Instagram. We're here for you. So look, it just takes a second. Like and subscribe, and you'll be caught up with everything, RBLR Bucs related. But that being said, gentlemen, let's get this show started. There's been there's only been so much happening, specifically this week. Unfortunately, but it's really just more kind of, draft talk, draft prospect talk, and, the top 30 visits have been, happening. So I did want to go over that with y'all. So I'm just going to drop a couple of the names that, that have been, informed by us. And, so that being said, first of all, we got our wide receivers, Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden, Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Noel. We got another wide receiver from Stanford, Alec Ayomano. But after that, it just goes all defense. We got defensive tackle Shamar Turner from Texas A&M. On top of that, we got outside linebacker Michael Williams from Georgia. We got UCLA outside linebacker Femi Oladijo. I always just put the H with the J. Oladejo, okay. All right. Texas A&M outside linebacker. We got Nick Scorton, South Carolina inside linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr. We got Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos, East Carolina cornerback Siobhan Revel Jr. And we got a couple of cornerbacks as well. Noel Williams from UC. I was gonna say UC Berkeley, but it's just Cal. I always get confused. I got a buddy who actually goes to UC Berkeley, so that's why. But Kansas State cornerback Jacob Parrish, and last but not least, Zach's favorite university, the University of Oregon, and coming from Oregon is quarterback Nico Reed. So just kind of wanted to touch base. Any of these names caught your eye? Have you been looking at any of these guys, before or, during this week? What do you know about these guys? And, I also, want to kind of, ask as well as, to you, how much do these kind of, top 30 visits, what do they mean to you? Or, I guess for those new, listeners or people new to the football, NFL and all that, what do these top 30 visits exactly mean?
I think it's more of doing your due diligence. Some of these names aren't likely to fall to, well, actually, really only one of them is not likely to fall to Tampa. But to me, it's more just doing your due diligence. Like, some of these guys might slip into the second round, third round. Some of them are later round picks. But I think it's more telling on, like, what positions are being looked at and what positions aren't being looked at. Like, we haven't had a single safety come in for a top 30 visit. Obviously, I know there's more people coming in, but to not see a safety yet is kind of surprising to me because I figured that would have been pretty high on their list of team needs. Outside of that, like I said, I think it's just due diligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tyler, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I'm seeing a lot of corners and a lot of linebackers on this list. Outside of those, I don't think any of those wide receivers are going to be like round one picks for the Bucs. I shudder at the idea of drafting Matthew Golden at 19 instead of addressing a defensive need. But I think a lot of those guys on that list, I'd be okay with at 19. Turner, Williams, Demetrius Knight, Trey Amos. I'm cool with any of those if that's what they're thinking there. I think some of those guys are probably going to be round 2 draft picks as well. So maybe that's also them getting ahead of round 2. But yeah, like Zach said, it's due diligence. It's just them doing their homework. And honestly, I think that this isn't really a huge indicator of what they're thinking anyway.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, this all seems fine to me, minus those wide receivers. I don't know. I'm just rather confused. I feel like all I've been hearing from everyone is just defense, and defense. So, I guess there's always sometimes it's worth the risk, but
I think
to get these guys in the first round would be nuts.
I think the biggest thing to look at is you're talking about wide receivers, and really only one of them is a round 1 guy, and that's Matthew Golden. I was surprised when I heard that he was in for a visit. I'm not going to lie to you. It worries me because he has only had one real season of production, and that's not taking anything away from him. I think he's a good ball player. Do I think he's going to be one of the best receivers in the league? I'm not sold on that yet. The biggest thing for me is if you're taking Matthew Golden, let's say he slips to 19, I think there's a shot he's the first receiver off the board that's not named Travis Hunter. So if you're taking him, if he falls to you and you take him at 19, you're building for the future. You're not building for a win now team. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but with our team kind of aging out now, like we're going to lose Levante. Mike Evans is a free agent after next season. So do I think Mike Evans leaves? No. Do I think that he's going to be just as good next year as he was last year? Of course. But I think that a wide receiver pick at 19 is just building for the future, and you're not necessarily worried about this season. Not that he's not going to make an impact, but he's not going to make an impact that, like, let's say you take Demetrius Knight. Well, no, I wouldn't take Knight at round 1, but you get the point. Like, there's people that would make an instant impact on this team, and I don't think that a wide receiver in round 1 is that position.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, there's a lot of mouths to feed on the offense already between Irving and Rashad White and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and J-Mac and Cade Otton. So adding another guy in the first round who is probably going to command a lot of touches of the football, you can only throw it around and run it as many times as you can in a game. So, it just doesn't make as much sense to me personally. Now, if we're talking about like Ted McMillan here at 19 or Luther Burden at 19, you could kind of get me on those two. And even like if you want to talk about Tyler Warren potentially at 19, I don't think he falls there. I don't think Genty falls there. Those are like the only 4 guys on offense I'm willing to take at that 19th pick.
Hell, I don't think I'd even be excited about Burden at 19. Ted McMillan, look, if he's there at 19, I would scoop him up in a heartbeat, even though we don't need it. Because I think he's going to be generational. I will say it. I think he's going to be very good.
He looks just like
Mike Evans is just going to make it even better. But Musab, what are your thoughts on would Matthew Golden be a good call, or are you thinking there's a more pressing need?
No, I just, the way I see it is just that, I mean, it's kind of just like how much, it's, you're betting on these guys when you're drafting them, and it's like, there's no kind of value to, getting a, top tier wide receiver in round 1 when, I'm more focused on the now. I feel like, I mean, as Tyler said it already, our offense is already looking pretty damn good already. So, yes, we do need to worry about the future, but I mean, I feel like we're already in really good hands right now, and we just need a couple of just changes more on the defensive side. But just for the love of God, I feel like I want a DB in the first round, second round worse, because it's just like, when was the last time we gave some love to our cornerbacks and safeties? I mean, yes, we got Tyke Smith, but I was hoping for
third rounder though.
Yeah, I was hoping. I was just hoping for a little bit more even last year. So, we'll see how it goes this year. But I'll tell you this, though, listeners. I mean, I'm sure you have your own picks, and you have your own guys that you would, think that would fit well with our Buccaneers. So seriously, by all means, you can comment on our live stream right now. We post this bad boy on our socials. You can comment on that below, as I mentioned already. Instagram, X, Blue Sky, Facebook. We're everywhere. So we're not hard to find. But I guess, I mean, is there any other kind of, final remarks overall based on, what else you've been hearing? Has there been anything else kind of, crazy that you've been kind of hearing? Any crazy, before we kind of, really dig deep into our position spotlight, I just wanted to kind of, open the floor to both of y'all and, just see, where's y'all's heads at right now with everything else going on with the draft. And I know there's some other interesting things going on, like the Panthers. But
I was just going to say,
bro, you're bringing in a 6'9", 220 tight end. I hope he's fast, because it's going to be a fun season. And as far as the draft goes, though, I mean, I think this draft's going to be surprisingly deep compared to what people are giving it credit for. I know you look at this draft and like the quarterback class is not great, but I think you're going to get a lot of solid players from rounds 1 through 5 and some late round guys that are going to surprise a lot of people. And I even think the quarterback class, outside of, I'm not as high on Shador as everyone else is. I do think that there are some solid quarterbacks that won't start day 1, but could make a name for themselves in a few years.
I agree. I'm continually surprised by how deep this draft class is. And I think the funny part of that is, as deep as the draft class is, no draft experts on like NFL Network or ESPN seem to know what's going to happen in the first round, even outside of the first overall pick. And I would say some people aren't completely sold on Cam Ward at number 1 either. So this draft is anything goes. I think that, like, locking ourselves out of, I don't know, say a top defender because we think he's going to go in the top 10. You never know. Like last year, it was 12 or 13 picks before a defender went off the board.
Yeah, it was if I'm not mistaken, it may have been 17 because I think it was a record.
It was a long time.
Most offensive players taken before a defensive player.
And I think that if that trend holds, I think that bodes really well for the Bucs this year.
I'm telling you,
I'm impressed by. There are a lot of corners that I'm impressed with in the first round. A lot of inside linebackers. Well, probably 2 inside linebackers that I would be okay with. And I'm always talking about edge rushers, so that's not going to change. And the edge rushers, nobody outside of the consensus number 1. Whoever you put after it, you'll get some people who agree and some who disagree. So
I'm right there with y'all. Yeah, I mean the biggest thing that I'm always curious to see is who's kind of I don't want to say hidden gem, but some guys in the later rounds or that 4th or 5th picked quarterback. For example, I think it was like this year was like Jaden Daniels for me. I think he was about what he was picked, but all the hype was towards Caleb Williams, and at the end of the season it was all about Jaden Daniels. So that's always what I'm curious to see is.
I'll call that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. So I mean, I feel like it happens a lot every single year in a lot of sports. Mr. ABC and EFG are the ones that are all hype, but it's really XYZ who's coming in through. So
shout out to Bo Nix.
Yeah, exactly.
Our producer will like that.
Absolutely,
just for him. This is a podcast for him alone.
Yeah. Well, well, if you're looking for the Bo Nix or the Jaden Daniels of some of that apparel, we got all kinds of designs for you at shop.rblrsports.com. Hey, folks, I'll tell you this. All right. If you really love your mother, you got a month, May 11th. All right. It's only April 9th right now. You got a month to order one of these bad boys for your mama. Or you know what? Maybe you already got something ready for Mother's Day. You want to get something for yourself, or it doesn't matter. All right. There's no excuse. All you got to head on over to shop.rblrsports.com. And we're even going to bless you with the promo just because we're nice and just because we really appreciate you. And that's going to be Cannons, CANNONS, for 10% off your order. So, I mean, it's a great time. And I mean, I don't know if you pay for some expedited shipping, I guess maybe you'll have it in time for the draft. I hope you're not getting a little FOMO, from all this draft outfit talk I was having with the boys earlier on this episode. So I don't know, maybe call your boy at USPS and ask him for an expedited shipping order. But enough of all this, the fun talk. But let's get down to business, gentlemen. Tonight's spotlight is the cornerbacks. And, I'll start it off with you, Zach. Who is your round 1/round 2 guy?
So this was probably the hardest of all the ones we've done so far because there's so many I love. Like, I genuinely wanted probably 5 or 6 guys to put 5 or 6 guys in my round 1 or 2 conversation. I ended up going with Will Johnson. I don't think that he's going to be there at 19. I do think that he is the best corner in this draft. I know even over Travis Hunter, it's kind of a lot of people don't think that. I think Travis Hunter is a wide receiver. I think he's going to make his money at wide receiver in the league. I think Will Johnson's a better corner. 6'2", 192, great play rec. It's almost like he was in the offensive huddle a lot in Michigan. He's just a stud in my opinion. great downhill hitter. You're going to have a lot of arm tackles with him. That's kind of one of the issues. He kind of overreads plays, and he also takes bad angles, which is not great. And I know he doesn't necessarily fit the Todd Bowles run stuffing corner, but I do think he'd be the best lockdown corner on our team if we drafted it. And I think that's right away.
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, there's a lot of talent in the earlier rounds. And I feel like the hardest part is always, thinking about those weaknesses that each guy has. Ain't nobody perfect, but no, whatever you said, Zach, I'm totally right there with you. He is definitely worth the pick. And Tyler, I'll go to you, man. Who's your guy?
Yeah, so I ended up going with Darian Porter from Iowa State University. He's probably going to be a second-round guy. I am absolutely enthralled. He's got an impressive 6'2" 7/8 frame, weighs 195 pounds, so about the same size as Johnson. But he also brings a 4.3 40-yard dash to the table, and all of his other measurables were incredible. His vertical is 36.5 inches. So, and I'm a big proponent of the relative athletic score, the RAS. I know we might have a couple haters here on the podcast, but it's been a massive indicator of Bucs prospects, especially at corner. Vernon Hargraves, who was one of the first draft picks in Jason Light's career with the Bucs, was a 9.26. Sean Murphy-Bunting, 9.64. Jamel Dean, 9.93. And Zion McCollum scored a perfect 10. And Darian Porter is a 9.99. So this is probably the second most athletic corner in the draft since 1987 or whatever. And so, he was originally recruited to Iowa State as a wide receiver. And I think that translates very well for his ball skills. He's got a knack for finding the football. His arms and his height are both in the 95th percentile. And he's been pretty good in press man. The only hole in his game is in the run. And I think that playing in the Todd Bowles defense, even just for an off season, will help him improve in that area. He only allowed a completion percentage of 29.4% last season. He was an absolute stud. And, this is his only season productive for Iowa State. He was mostly a special teamer before that. But I think he could be really exciting at the next level.
He was definitely one of those guys I had in my section of guys that I wanted in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So I huge fan
I've
of him.
had my eye on him.
Yeah. I think I've mocked him every time I've done a mock draft. He's been my
right there in the second round. Yep.
Inside linebacker and him in the second round.
Yep. Every time.
Hell yeah. No. I love these names, guys. My guy was Jahdae Barron from University of Texas, and kind of similar things as y'all. I would probably say that, the big thing that I like is, he's a versatile defensive back, playing the corner, the slot, in the box. And he is, as, from what I've seen from reports, he is, anticipated he should be, picked in the mid of the first round. So it is possible that we are able to get him. But this guy's a big playmaker. He had a 2-interception game against University of Georgia, which was, when you're going against, the best of the best teams and you're performing like that, it just, it really tells these scouts and, tells teams in the NFL that, this guy could possibly be the real deal. Had a great season this past year. He is an absolute, he is what they call, from the report, someone had mentioned that he is a special teams ace, and he's just super aggressive. Now, that's one of his, I guess, weaknesses is, sometimes he can play a little too aggressive, but I'll probably say, when it comes to those, match zone, pattern match, heavy schemes, I feel like you would be a really good fit. A lot of reports have been kind of mentioning, great football IQ, great tackler, all those kind of things. So, to me, it just sounds like a very kind of straightforward, thing for me. There's nothing, to get me super all buck wild, but, I just need someone who's just locked in and focused, you know what I'm saying? As much as it would be nice to have someone, who's got a little bit of that, kind of grit to him or whatever, someone like Jalen Ramsey or something like that. I mean, I think he's an absolute stud. So, yeah.
I will say with Barron, I think his outside game is very underrated. I think he can play a very, very good outside corner. I know his arms aren't very long and he's a little bit shorter, but I think that people are sleeping on his outside coverage ability. If he's there at 19, I would be running to get him. I think that he is
absolutely. I think he's the second best corner in this draft. I'm most impressed by his versatility. It seems like he can play all over the field.
Exactly.
I think that would be really exciting for the Bucs.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, wherever you need him, you can just plug him on in. So that's what we need, because injuries are always going to happen. Wouldn't be surprised if the injury bug strikes again this year in our defensive back room. So
I agree.
Well, that being said, gentlemen, let's just get on to do round 3 and 4. I'll start it off with you this time, Tyler. Who is your round 3/round 4 guy?
So this guy probably, if he hadn't gotten hurt this past season, I think he probably would have gone in the first round. He's really exciting to me. Siobhan Ravel Jr. from Eastern Carolina. He tore his ACL 3 games in, but like Porter, he's a freak of nature. He's probably faster, honestly.
Yeah.
His straight line speed is incredible. He absolutely flies around the field. Like Porter, allowed a completion percentage of only 38%, but limited sample size, only 3 games. And 2 of those games were Old Dominion and Appalachian State. So
those are great teams, brother.
Oh man, I love the Sun Belt. But he's got 1 full season of productivity, and he was pretty decent last season, and he played in the American Conference. So you have some questions about competition levels and jumping to the NFL from there, especially with only 1 full season under his belt. But I'm watching his tape. I'm just consistently impressed, especially by his athleticism. He is one of those corners like you would hate to play against him. He's gritty. He's a competitor. He's like a bulldog almost.
Yeah, he's a dog
for sure. I think it gets him in trouble every once in a while, but he's super explosive. His anticipation is pretty good, and he's a really, really physical run defender, even if he's not like top tier at it.
Absolutely. So, Tyler, I have to ask you. I have seen, and I mean, this also goes for you as well, Zach. Is I'm pretty sure I've seen, Revel's name and some of the couple of first-round mocks, whether that be on our Buccaneers or on other teams. But I mean, I'm right there with you. I agree. I feel like he might be more of a round 3 kind of guy because of.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Especially because of an injury like an ACL. I mean, it's just
ACL.
I would hate to risk something like that, and things go downhill. You put all this kind of,
and he's still rehabbing. That's part of the problem as well. So he's probably going to miss the beginning of the season. So
everything I've read, I thought said that he'll be ready by training camp.
Really?
I think I could be wrong, and I could be looking at somebody else, but I thought that it said he'll be ready by training camp. I have him as a round 2 guy at the latest. I agree with the injury history being a problem. He got into a car accident, I believe it was in high school, fractured his skull, missed a whole season in high school, then came into junior college. I think he did something in junior college. First season at ECU, he hurt his hand, missed a bunch of time.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, none of these injuries are repeat injuries. That plays well, in my opinion. It's not like he's got a bad knee and he's pulled his MCL twice, I'm more on board with him as opposed to some other injury-prone guys because they are all different injuries. They could very well be freak accidents and not ever happen again in his career. But at this point, I think the injury history does creep him out of the first round. I think had he stayed healthy all season, he would have been the number 1 corner off the board, without a doubt. But you look at, obviously he played at a small school, Quinion Mitchell played at a small school, just won a Super Bowl, and was the best corner on that team. I'm not worried about the school size at this point. I think he's a second-round guy, and that's the only reason he's not on my list because I wanted to go Will Johnson over him. But Siobhan Revel, I think, is a very, very, very good player.
Yes, I agree. I think I was mixing him with Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, who is not going to test before the draft because he re-injured his hip or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I was actually looking at Morrison a couple weeks ago when I was just in my – I don't know.
I've seen him mocked. I've seen Morrison mocked to Tampa a lot in the second round, and I don't like it personally. I'll be honest.
I remember when he was a consensus first-round pick. And, the injuries are just going to drop him as well.
Yeah, 100%. Who's your day 2 guy, Musab?
Yeah, I was just going to say, yes, sir. My day 2 guy is Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. I think this guy could be real good, too. He's a fourth, probably looking to be picked in the 4th round. He's got great coverage skills, especially when that kind of those press man situations. He is very smooth, especially with his transitions, during, covering someone during man coverage. And I'll probably say on the stat sheet, he didn't have a super productive season, compared to, many other guys. But again, super, super big playmaker. I'll probably say, if anything, when it comes to him locking this is more my kind of all right, this guy, I'd actually be a little bit more confident with this guy, locking guys down when it comes to that man coverage. I mean, he is, he's got that, super kind of, roots, just real good, change of direction as well. Got good arm length. So I guess the only kind of downside is, just the, his inconsistent pad level, from what I've seen from a couple of reports. So we'll see how that goes. But the big takeaway for him is that he does bring a lot of value on the special teams and more of a kind of a project compared to other guys. But I'll probably say that he could ball out for sure too. So guys, I have to say, I mean, the closer we get to our position spotlights, I feel like the harder it is as well, because these are the positions that matter the most. And it's one thing just to come up with a round 3-4 quarterback for shits and giggles, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good talent here in the DB room or the cornerback room, so that's what I'm really happy to see. But Mr. Zach Blaine, who's your guy?
I went with a guy that actually just came or is going to come on a top 30 visit. Noel Williams out of Cal. The dude is a ball hawk. He had 14 career interceptions. He's a tough, physical corner. I think he stands at 6 foot tall. So he's not as big as the other ones we've been talking about, but he's physical, probably one of the more physical ones. Another guy with great play recognition. His top line speed's not the best, so he tends to get beat on if that wide receiver is running a straight go route. There's a good shot he gets beat, and his recovery speed's not there. And his inconsistent tackling and lack of run support tend to be an issue. So I think it fits well with Todd Bowles as far as him being able to develop that run game or that run support. But as far as being a day one starter, I don't think that's going to be the case with him. I think he's a guy we develop and put him in special teams and certain packages.
That's great. That's great, man. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, guys, this is some real good prospect talk. I mean, I feel like any of these guys, you really can't go wrong. And I will say, though, it is nice to know that, Noel Williams was part of this top 30 visit. So, that's definitely nice to see that.
I got to admit, I changed my answer because I saw him on the top 30 visit, and I was like, well, I got to look into this guy. I like him. I hope he's not I would hope he's not the only corner we draft in this draft. But if we could get him round 4, cherry on top. He's very, very good.
Hell yeah. No, I like it. Hey man, if the Bucs are inviting him, can't be a bad pick, or can't be a bad one to pick Zach. So we will go on now to our hidden gems, or AKA the day three gentlemen. And I guess I'll start off this time, make things a little bit interesting, and I this time I guess I don't know why. Maybe I've done it in the past, but I wanted to kind of give a little bit of love to the smaller schools. So my guy is Bilal Cone, or Coney. I think it's Cone, and it's from Western Michigan University. The guy's got size. I mean, 6'1", super smooth with his transitions. I mean, he's got the good size for a corner. I mean, especially when you're going against these kind of bigger wide receivers. I feel like that's when it's going to matter. And look, I get it, he's day three, but I mean, there's still some good stuff from him. He is, again, he excels in the press coverage situations. He's got good route recognition skills as well. I'm actually forgetting it. I remember I saw one of my guys actually did play some wide receiver. I feel like a lot of these defensive backs have played wide receiver. It's like, oh, okay, hey boy, you got bad hands, but hey, you're pretty fast, and you can. It seems like you can lock down some guys. So why don't we throw you in DB instead of wide receiver? So I'll probably say, yeah. I mean, those kind of things help. With the kind of football intelligence, knowing the zone coverage, reading the quarterback, jumping underneath routes, those kind of things. So the only thing though is, he struggles a little bit with the footwork compared to other guys, especially those kind of, like backpedaling or those sharp breaking routes. I mean, he's been beat, so, you don't want to see that happen, but this is definitely one of those kind of developmental prospects. Obviously, I mean, if he's a day three guy, there's only so much hype that's out there, but I'll be happy with, anyone. I'll probably say, if we were able to get another cornerback in the later rounds, I wouldn't mind. But I'll pass it on to you. I'll pass it on to you now, Zach. Who's your guy?
So my guy is sort of another small school guy. He is not very small though. Zaw Frazier out of UTSA. He reminds me so much of Zion McCollum, and I know that I'm not the biggest Zion McCollum fan, but this guy's 6'3", a burner, tested really, really well, but a burner with great burst on the cuts. 6 picks in 2024, 15 passes defended. He is going to be or could be very, very good. Biggest problem with him is he's 25, so he'll be 25 in October.
Yikes!
Yeah, he's really old to be coming into the league, and he only had one full season as a starter, so that's why he's lower down. He tested really well, and he looks like he could be good, but there's not very much time to develop him. Like at 30, you're already kind of on the downside of playing corner. So it's a stretch, and that's why I'm taking him so late. I think if he were 22 and putting up these kind of numbers or tested like this, he'd be a second to fourth round pick. But being 25, I think significantly hurts your chances, and he tends to miss a lot of balls too that he should have. So those 6 interceptions and 15 pass defended could have been doubled. Like it's that bad with him. So while I don't think he makes your team great, I think if the flip or the switch flips and it just comes natural to him in the NFL, I think he could be a steal in the day 3 of the draft.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, listen, I mean, guys, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're being picked, in the later rounds, I feel like the biggest thing that anyone would want from you is just to be some sort of role player. You want to ball out and do amazing. That's phenomenal, but the expectations are already low, and I'm glad you brought up the age situation, because that's definitely a factor for sure. But I mean, if we can get fresh legs and we can throw in someone like him, just for a couple plays here and there, and he can do his job, I feel like that will definitely make a big difference for sure. Because it just breaks my heart when I see our backups getting burnt. So I'm not saying that he won't, and I know you've already mentioned it already, but it just comes down to, who wants it that bad and who's going to be, working on it during the off season. But Mr. Tyler, who is your guy?
So I've got Fentrell Cypress II from Florida State.
What a name.
That's a round one kind of name.
It was
yeah, I was between a couple. He ended up being the choice here for the day 3 guys. It was like him and O'Donnell Fortune from South Carolina. Yeah. I honestly, I wasn't even going off of the names. But yeah, Cypress didn't have a great season at Florida State, which is unfortunate because he had 2 pretty productive years at Virginia before he transferred to Florida State for like the worst season ever.
Yeah, it was an awful season.
Yeah. And, obviously he's not going to put up great statistics on that defense when nobody on that defense is playing well. But I think on film, he looks a lot better than the numbers would suggest. I mean, he's got very fluid footwork. He's got good instincts in man and zone. He can contribute on special teams. I think that is probably one of the most important things that you can do, especially if you're looking at being picked in the 7th round. Anything that can give you a roster spot would be special teams. He's at Virginia. He's a pretty good ball hawk. Didn't get any interceptions this past season. In terms of cons, he's not super strong. He's not super big. And he's a little inconsistent against the run, especially taking angles. And, those are already kind of the problems we have with our current Bucs corners. So why not double down? You know what I'm saying? I think he is a good scheme fit for the Bucs. He was very good in zone. He'd be a good depth guy to develop, I guess. But, he's shown flashes in college. He had one really good year at Virginia, where he allowed a passer rating of only 58 for the whole season. So, I think in the 7th round, you're kind of just throwing darts blindfolded. And if you can manage to hit one, I think that he's got a pretty good shot in the NFL.
Agreed. Now, I want to real quick, I agree that I think he could be very, very good if he reverts back to his Virginia play. But again, I don't think you can really hold Florida State against him because it was just an awful season for literally everybody at Florida State. But we had a listener or a viewer question. Kristen Corsi, would you guys like to see 2 cornerbacks taken in this draft, one early and one late?
I'm not opposed to that at all. I think corner is one of those positions where you can just kind of stock up. You can kind of take as many as you need. And when you're looking at Javier Thomas and Tyreek Funderburk playing regular snaps at certain stretches during the season, you kind of might need to take 2 corners this year.
I'll one up you. I think that you need to take 2 corners this year, and I don't know that you necessarily wait till the late rounds. I wouldn't take 1 and 2, but if let's hypothetically say Will Johnson's there at 1, I would take Will Johnson, and God forbid Siobhan Revel be there in round 3. I'm taking him. Like, I know we have.
Yeah.
I would, if there is a player there that is falling and could make an impact, especially at a position of need like corner, I would take him early if I had to.
Yeah, and I think corner is one of those positions where, obviously versatility is important across the board. But if you have a super versatile corner that you can manage to get in this draft, he can end up playing safety for you as well.
Exactly.
And that's what we saw with Tyke Smith in the opposite direction last season, where we had we thought we had 2 safeties. And so he ended up playing nickel for most of the season when he was healthy. And now he's probably going to be the safety next year.
Yep.
So, it goes in both directions, but I think the versatility was very important out of a late round corner.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you guys. I feel like, I think it'd be nice to have 2 corners. The more the merrier. We get a couple undrafted free agents as well. Just some camp bodies, bring some more competition because we gotta load up more on our cornerback room and kind of pick out the best of the best. I mean, we got it. Just I'm tired of seeing this kind of mess happen over and over again. And I feel like this is the year that I feel like I've really seen just all around on social media, people saying that we seriously need to focus on, getting some corners. I mean, obviously we want some pass rushers as well, but we got to focus on the corners because I'm gonna be heartbroken if we get a wide receiver in round one.
I've been saying it for the last 2 years. I think that we have slept on the corner position, and it continues to jump up and bite us in the ass. And it's just, I mean, I don't want to tell you I told you so, but like,
that's the thing. I feel like we've discussed it, and go ahead and give us your answer again because I'm forgetting. But it's just like how is the organization not aware about this? You know what I'm saying? It's like what in their mind is going on to think that we can just bring back a couple of these backups and.
You got Jason Light and Todd Bowles saying two different things.
Right.
It's like, oh, yeah, we're good at corner. Jamel Dean's the answer. We're good. And Todd Bowles is like, nope, no one's job safe. So it's just, who do we believe? And I get it. You got to throw up smoke screens. Like, if we're trying to get Will Johnson in round one, we don't want them to know, hey, corner's our most important need. I get that. And I'm just throwing out Will Johnson because he was my first-round guy. But, like, if we're going for corner and teams want to jump us, they're going to jump us. So I get throwing up smoke screens, but you can't have your coach and your GM saying two different things. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's odd.
Right. And Jamel Dean's probably going to miss 4 or 5 games again this season with some kind of knee injury.
At this rate, you got to
talk about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are going to happen no matter what. So it's just like, championship teams are the ones that have good depth. And, while we have good depth in certain positions, we don't have any good depth at all in the corner room. And,
that's the other thing about taking a wide receiver. That's the other thing about taking a wide receiver in the first round. That's like probably our deepest position. Evans, Godwin, McMillan, obviously, but Sterling Shepard's your wide receiver 4. I love Trey Palmer. I think he has, if he had more opportunity to shine, I think he could probably be wide receiver 3 in this offense, if I'm being completely honest. Listen, I
like Palmer. I want to put that actually. I like Palmer.
I love him. But then like Ryan Miller, like as a wide receiver 5, dude, are you kidding me? Absolutely.
I like him. Oh yeah.
So it's just one of those things where they take a wide receiver and honestly, if they take a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, I'll be pretty upset. It's just not something we need at all by any stretch of the truth.
Well, Tyler, Zach, fingers crossed, the Buccaneers organization, the front office listens to our podcast and, they show some regard to, what we've said. But, gentlemen, it has been nothing but a pleasure to be doing this, cornerback talk with y'all and, talking all things Buccaneers related. Folks, if you enjoyed our episode, please hit that like and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram, X, Blue Sky. We're on Facebook, and please, we love the comments like these during our show, and we would love comments even afterwards. Give us your hot takes. We'll make sure to give you a shout out if you hit a pick right. We'll give you a call out or something. Maybe I'll think about it. Maybe if I'm nice enough, I'll buy you an RBLR shirt. I don't know. We'll see. Depending on I'm kind of balling on a budget. But gentlemen, as always, it's been a pleasure. Listeners, thank you again for giving us a listen. And, we look forward to having you join us next week as we tackle another position before the draft. So until then, and as always, go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.